Have you ever had, a really brilliant idea, maybe a breakthrough concept, but then you find yourself just staring at a blank page, just struggling to translate that vision into something clear and compelling, something others can act on? Or maybe you've spotted a significant gap somewhere in the market, or maybe a societal need, but you couldn't quite frame it as a real opportunity. Like we've all been there. Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the practical art of transforming those innovative ideas into clear, really compelling business model presentations and reports. This isn't just theory. It's about making your ideas land, making them resonate.
Yeah, and our insights today, they're drawn from this really comprehensive guide. It meticulously outlines how to develop and present a business model, and it specifically uses the business model canvas framework, which many will know. But what's fascinating, I think, is the focus. It's not just on what you're selling. Fundamentally, it's about the problem you're solving for people.
Okay, so our mission then, in this deep dive, is to unpack the precise instructions, both for crafting those, solid written reports and delivering impactful visual presentations. And we'll also look at the detailed evaluation methods, how success is actually measured. Because this isn't just about launching a business, right? It's about mastering that universal language of value communication. Useful whether you're trying to get funding, propose a project at work, or even just share a complex idea effectively. And here's where it gets really interesting, based on our source. It emphasizes that truly successful ventures, they don't just offer solutions out of the blue. No, they first identify and really deeply understand existing problems or these unaddressed gaps. And why does this matter so much? Why the focus on the problem? Well, as the source points out, people won't truly value or, pay for a solution if they don't even realize they have a problem in the first place.
That's absolutely spot on. The guide makes that incredibly clear. Many potential problems aren't even recognized as problems by the very people experiencing them, which means naturally they won't grasp the value of a solution no matter how brilliant you think it is.
Right. So they just won't see the need.
Exactly. So the first critical step isn't just finding a solution. It's articulating the problem in a way your potential customers or stakeholders, whoever, genuinely understand and feel. It makes it so much easier then to build your whole idea around that clearly defined problem you're setting out to solve.
Rather than just focusing on the product itself.
Precisely. Rather than just thinking about the products or services you think you want to sell. When your work genuinely answers a pain point, that's when you build loyalty. That's when you truly fill a gap in a market or field.
Okay, so if identifying the problem is step one, then step two has to be effectively communicating your solution. And our guide gives some extremely practical instructions for that, starting with a written report.
Yeah, it does. It emphasizes this is typically a collaborative thing, often done in teams. And the report itself needs to be incredibly well structured. Foundational elements first. Well,
Right.
the title page, table of contents, a clear introduction setting the stage. And from there, it dives into the core, the 9 essential building blocks of any business model. These are then meticulously mapped out, usually on a filled-in business model canvas.
Okay, and those 9 blocks are things like customer segments, value propositions.
Exactly. Customer segments, value propositions, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, and, of course, the cost structure. The guide really stresses providing ample, clear information on each one, explaining its purpose, how it fits into the bigger picture.
About how they all integrate.
Yes. And then it wraps up with a concise summary and, importantly, a list of all references used. What's crucial here, the guide says, is meticulous organization, professional, error-free language.
Yeah.
And striking that balance between being comprehensive but also concise, usually within a specific page range.
So clarity, thoroughness, structure, absolutely key. And it's not just about the content, but also how it's presented, how it's assessed. How is this report evaluated according to the source? It breaks down the criteria, right?
It does, yes. And that really highlights what matters. A significant chunk of the overall project score comes from this written output. Points are specifically allocated for, including all those structural elements we mentioned, title page, right through to references.
Okay, so just getting the format right counts.
It does. And then further emphasis, big points, for including all 9 core components of the business model. And not just listing them, but explaining each one thoroughly, showing you really understand it.
Demonstrating that deep understanding.
Exactly. And then, naturally, professional language and evidence of strong team collaboration are also critical factors in the greeting.
It really underscores the importance of, impeccable presentation of the content. Not just having the ideas.
Precisely. And speaking of presentation, the guide also gives detailed instructions for the visual presentation part. That's equally vital. Each group delivers a focused presentation. Sections can even be divided among team members.
Ah, interesting. So encouraging collective ownership.
Right. The emphasis throughout is on fulfilling the conditions for a genuinely successful, engaging presentation.
What really stands out to me there is the time limit. It says it shouldn't exceed 10 minutes.
Yeah, that 10-minute limit.
It's not just a rule, is it? It feels like a powerful constraint, forces you to distill everything.
Absolutely. You have to focus on the most impactful points. You simply can't just read your report aloud.
No, you have to transform the information.
Right. The guide actually encourages creativity, urges teams to make the presentation lively, enjoyable, and it's not about one person doing all the talking. All members are expected to actively participate, present their part.
And submission is usually what? A standard digital file? Like PowerPoint or similar?
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Submitted professionally as a digital presentation file.
Okay, and the evaluation for that? Also clearly defined.
Very clearly. It accounts for another significant portion of the total project score. This assessment focuses heavily on the overall impact. So, meeting those general conditions of a good presentation, demonstrating an attractive, professional design, and crucially, effectively integrating the business model elements within that visual story.
So it's not just looking pretty, it has to connect back to the core model.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just the content and visuals. A substantial part of the score is also for capturing and maintaining the audience's attention.
Ah, engagement. That's key.
Very key. And finally, points for the discipline of finishing within that allocated time. 10 minutes means 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay, so it really shows how much emphasis is placed on both the substance and the dynamic delivery, content and performance. So as we start to wrap up this deep dive then, we've really explored this meticulous process. Crafting a compelling business model report covering everything from the basic structure, like the title page and references, all the way to those crucial 9 core components of the business model canvas.
And we also looked at the art of delivering that concise, impactful 10-minute presentation, where every detail, from an attractive design to really engaging the audience and, importantly, finishing on time, it all contributes to success.
Definitely.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, maybe for you listening, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe a project manager, or frankly, just someone who wants to present their ideas with more clarity, this structured approach, and especially that fundamental focus on identifying problems first that we've discussed today, it offers really invaluable transferable lessons.
Transferable lessons. I like that.
It's all about taking your solution, however brilliant, and firmly rooting it in a clearly identified, compelling problem, and then communicating that whole connection effectively and comprehensively.
Which kind of brings us to a final thought, maybe a question for you to consider beyond just the business context. Think about a challenge you face or maybe a goal you have in your own life. Could be anything. How might focusing first on really articulating the underlying problem, not jumping straight to the solution, but defining the problem, how might that fundamentally change your approach? And how would you apply these principles of structured, compelling communication we've talked about today to make your case, whatever it is, truly resonate?